Good morning. As we begin our service, we acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Western Abenaki people who have stewarded the lands and waters on which we gather for generations. I'm Denise Bailey, your worship associate today, and I welcome you to this time of worship. For over 150 years, the Unitarian Church of Montpelier has been a sanctuary for those seeking both spiritual sustenance and peace and justice in the world. Whether you are a newcomer or a longtime member, we are so glad you're here with us this morning. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone who is joining our community for worship for the first time this morning. As we begin our time together, I want to share just a couple of notes about our worship platform, which is Zoom, with you this morning. The default setting for this meeting is for you to have your video on. If you prefer to have your video off throughout worship, you will need to make a point of turning your video off. You can control whether your video is on or off at any point, and either option is fine. Also, the chat function will be on for much of the service. If you wish, please use the chat to welcome and support one another, to affirm the hard work and effort of our worship leaders, and to share good vibes and positive thoughts with one another. Let us join in our opening hymn. And now for some opening words from me and our Reverend Joan.
These opening words are by Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this shared time today.
Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith.
Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way.
Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost.
Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, the compliant.
Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors.
Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, the non-binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender.
Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, the authentic.
Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not.
Blessed are we for this, our beloved community.
And this is who we are.
And now, let us light our chalice as we state our covenant. If you have a chalice at home, feel free to light it now. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within. Treat each other with compassion and honor our differences. Take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other. Support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joys in our life. Honor the gifts of the past and be gentle with each other as we grow. Encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world. And forgive each other and start again.
Good morning. The words in our choir offering today come from the 1943 Langston Hughes poem, Freedom's Plow, which honors the collective labor and struggle that built and still animates the best of America. The poem reminds us that if the house is not yet finished, if the fight is not yet won, don't be discouraged, exhorting us to keep our hand on the plow. So our choir has been preparing this piece, and we were hoping to sing it in person today, but thankfully we do have a recording of this same piece from when we sang it just about a year ago, and we are going to share that with you now.
Thank you, choir. Wow. And thank you for technology that we get to hear that again. Y'all sound so great. I want to say good morning again and welcome to folks who have joined over the last several minutes on our Zoom worship this morning. It's great to be able to be together even on this stormy winter morning. So I'm going to invite us to continue in this time of meditation and prayer, allowing yourself to settle in wherever you are and in whatever way feels inviting to you to have a moment of stillness, a moment of peace. Maybe you're near a window where you can see the snow falling. That's what I'm looking out onto from my office here at home. Just invite you to settle in, find your breath. Allow yourself to just be here. And though we are not together physically, knowing that we are connected by means of this wondrous technology across space. And I offer you these words of meditation by Atina O. Danner. What if we tried to breathe together? Pull in, pull deep, release together. What would be born from a unified fulfillment of the bodily self and its undeniable need? What if we all try to breathe together? A shared breath is a moment, refreshment and a reminder of our more than oneness. And if we continue, if we slow and quicken a pace with each other, a murmuration of lungs becomes one organ singing. And if we continue, learn each other's rhythms over time, rising and falling like waves, we become a perfect thing, a conspiracy dancing a dance of need and met need, request and offering, feeding each other. What if we decided to breathe together? What if we open the airways? What if we unblock, unbind, unfetter the hands that feed us? The earth, the air, and the water that hold us and shape us were breathing together before we found ourselves existing. And so they will continue after we're gone. Imagine our final goodbye coming later than sooner. Imagine our final breaths in paradise. It's not too late to slow down, fall into the dance, catch the vibrating air and release our lungs into song. Anything breathing cannot help but breathe, but breathing together is a choice we make. Let's join together in a time of shared quiet. I'll begin by ringing a bell and call us back together with the sound of the bell once more. This reading is by Adam Lawrence Dyer, a poem called My House. My house is not white, nor is it built for men only. My house is not a symbol or a surrogate, but a home and a place to dine on the loaves of different hearts and minds, broken only to be shared by many instead of being hoarded by one. My house is where I drink deeply of red wine that flows like blood, not spilled, but transfused through humankind. My house is the holy communion of humanity and love. Last weekend, when the Philadelphia Eagles took on the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, many people wondered whether the Chiefs would take home the trophy for the third year in a row. They didn't, but I think something more significant happened that day. For the first time in 4 years, the end zone on the football field at the Super Bowl did not feature the words "end racism." The league had started stenciling the message onto end zones in the year 2020. But this year, they replaced "end racism" with "choose love" and "it takes all of us." I can't disagree with those messages, but why change the message now? We clearly haven't yet ended racism. The change was a small yet significant indicator of where we are in this current moment. Of course, simply saying or writing the words "end racism" alone won't actually achieve what is being called for. But what we say, along with what we do, matters. In our country's attempt to end racism, President Gerald Ford was the first president to recognize February as Black History Month in 1976. This was a half century after the African-American historian Carter G. Woodson initiated the first Negro History Week in our country. Woodson's fraternity worked to expand that commemorative week to a full month after he died. The history of Blacks in the United States from before the colonies gained independence up to today includes the ongoing struggle for freedom and also the shaping of this country's cultural heritage through music, dance, story, poetry, mathematics, engineering, the military, politics, basically every aspect of American society. A designated Black History Month is one small part of honoring that history and just one small part of the larger effort to begin to end racism. Yet removing any reference to the month from calendars, government agencies, and schools is a significant step back. What we say, along with what we do, matters. Saying that we seek to end racism and doing something about it matters. Saying that we believe in justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and living out those values matters. In the history of Unitarian Universalism, we have stated our commitments to abolishing slavery and to reversing segregation, to expanding voting rights, and to ending mass incarceration. We have taken action towards those ends, and we have also failed to live up to our stated values and endeavored to try again. Within our own congregation, our journey has included the adoption of the 8th principle 3 years ago. At a special meeting of the congregation, you voted to adopt an affirmation of this principle after a year of a deliberative process led by the Racial Justice Group, involving opportunities for education and discussion. We were the 154th congregation to adopt the eighth principle, which states that we covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. The values and aims of the eighth principle have now been integrated into our denomination's newly adopted statement of shared values. With love at the center, Unitarian Universalists commit to 6 interrelated values, including justice and equity. Our statement of justice says we work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all feel welcome and can thrive. And our statement of value and equity says we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Saying these things out loud matters. Declaring that history will not be erased matters. Continuing to teach our children and to learn as adults the histories of those communities whose stories have long been discounted and buried matters. Recently, the UCM Racial Justice Group asked the governing board to find ways for the church to more consistently and publicly share our commitment to be anti-racist. Their request led to some important conversation. What do we mean by anti-racist? Can we claim to be an anti-racist congregation, or is it something we are striving towards? I'm grateful for the requests that they made and for the discussion that it has sparked. And I believe that being and building beloved community goes hand in hand with being anti-racist. Beloved community is a vision for living in relationship with one another in the fullness of our differences, without hierarchies of status and power, with equal regard, and in the interest of each and every one of us, living into our full dignity and humanity. Adam Dyer's words in the reading I shared paint a poetic picture of beloved community, a home and a place to dine on the loaves of different hearts and minds, broken only to be shared by many, instead of being hoarded by one. While beloved community has always been aspirational, it is also achievable. The Black feminist writer and activist Bell Hooks reflected on her experience forming deep and mutual relationships with white comrades in the freedom struggle in the South. She writes, "The small circles of love that we manage to form in our individual lives represent a concrete, realistic reminder that beloved community is not a dream, that it already exists for those of us who have done the work of educating ourselves for critical consciousness in ways that enable a letting go of white supremacist assumptions and values. Beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming identities and cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live in the world." What's important in what Hooks writes is that beloved community can be real. It can happen here and now. It hinges upon our critical consciousness and our letting go of white supremacist assumptions and values. In beloved community, we do not negate difference, but affirm it. We claim who we are and the cultures that have shaped us. We began Black History Month at UCM with an event offered in partnership with Salon Black Walnut. The vision for the Human Family Potluck, held now 3 years in a row, has been to experience, that is, to see, to hear, to taste, to feel beloved community in the very act of gathering as people in our full diversity of races, ages, genders, classes, coming together to break bread, sing song, and witness powerful truths is an act of beloved community. Bell Hooks continues in her writing, to form beloved community, we do not surrender ties to precious origins. We deepen those bondings by connecting them with an anti-racist struggle, which is at the heart always a movement to disrupt that clinging to cultural legacies that demands investment in notions of racial purity, authenticity, and national fundamentalism. Within an anti-racist struggle, the bonds of beloved community are deepened and strengthened. Dismantling racism is a necessary component of building beloved community because racial injustice and inequity still exist. We can celebrate cultural contributions and lift up the stories of freedom fighters that have gone before us, but to be and to build beloved community, we also have to face head-on injustice and inequity. We have to be anti-racist. The scholar Ibram X. Kendi uses the term anti-racist as a way of asserting that one cannot be neutral in matters of racial equality. Policies either sustain racial inequity or lead to racial equity. The ideas one believes and advances either sustain racial superiority or insist upon racial equality. Someone who is anti-racist, and by extension, a community that is anti-racist, is one that upholds policies, practices, and ideas that lead to racial equity. Kendi also says that the labels of racist and anti-racist aren't permanent, but they're situational. He likens them to, quote, peelable name tags that are placed and replaced based on what someone is doing or not doing, what someone is supporting or expressing in each moment. He writes, no one becomes a racist or anti-racist. We can only strive to be one or the other. Like fighting an addiction, he writes, being an anti-racist requires persistent self-awareness, constant self-criticism, and regular self-examination. So what does this look like in practice? Within our congregation, this might look like ensuring that anyone of any race is free to participate in any and all aspects of church life, that anyone of any race is assumed to be capable of taking on a leadership role, and that barriers that might cause racial inequity are removed. Within our local community, this might look like ensuring that essential public services are available in a variety of languages, that people of all races have access to affordable rent and home ownership, that people of color who own businesses are offered the resources to thrive, that our schools actively teach students to understand the origins of racial inequity and give them the skills to create another reality. At a time when the words racism, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice have become weaponized, it is important to keep saying them out loud, not to sow division, but to keep alive the values we strive to live by and a vision for the world we want to live in. Being quiet about these commitments might offer cover in the short term, but it allows racism and white supremacy to fester in the long term. What we say, along with what we do, matters. Right now, there are many people taking courageous action, and we need to support one another in courageously saying what we believe about the dignity of all people and in courageously acting to defend one another's rights, dignity, and safety. Over the last few weeks, I've struggled with my own inclinations to be strategically quiet about certain ways I am taking action. And while there may be actions that need to be taken quietly for safety's sake, our voices are needed in public spaces to communicate support for those whose lives and livelihoods are being threatened. With our public statements and public actions, we remind one another that beloved community is not a dream, but it can be a reality. So I ask you to find the ways that you can be bold in word and in action. Together, let us build that home where we share the loaves of different hearts and minds, a place where in community, all are beloved. So may it be. And I will invite us to join in our closing hymn, which is There Is More Love Somewhere.
As we close, so beautiful. Our gifts, freely given, help us to practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. Each month, the UCM Community Pouch Program. Through this, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or a community organization aligned with our values. During the month of February, our community pouch recipient is Planned Parenthood. Your contribution to the community pouch this month will directly support their work. You can make a financial contribution today by donating online. Go to ucmvt.org and click Donate to UCM. There are options to contribute to the general fund, which supports the general operating budget of the church, the community pouch, or both. You can also mail a check to the church, or you can use our text to give option. Simply send a text with the word give to 802-266-4850 4848. That's 802-266-4848, and follow the instructions sent to you. We're so grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity in its many forms. As we draw our service to a close, hey Joan, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and week ahead. As we do so, let us join in saying the mission statement of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home.
And these words of benediction are by Lucille Clifton. This is the poem, New Bones. We will wear new bones again. We will leave these rainy days, break out through another mouth into sun and honey time. Worlds buzz over us like bees. We be splendid in new bones. Other people think they know how long life is, how strong life is. We know. And we'll conclude our service with the postlude. We have a recording of Eliza playing Lift Every Voice and Sing. And I'll invite you to rise and embody your spirit for this postlude, known to be the Black National Anthem. After the service, you're welcome to stay on Zoom for our remote coffee hour.